Shvi'i, page 68. We are about to start the Mishnah, continuing the subject we discussed just not long ago in the comparative religion. So I just want to add something because it's also soon connected to the Mishnah. The part of the Islam, as you know, the city of Mecca, the central of people that worship and pray in their Kaaba, it's the idea that they get there and they have the largest, biggest slaughterhouse ever in the world. Is part of that ritual involved with the getting to the Kaaba and getting the meat. In their group, it's called the sacred meat. There's a certain area in general and in Mecca in particular that it's only for people who are part of the Islam faith, and they have to go to a certain rituals. They have to duck in the El Zamzam. And if you read even the Quran, is the whole idea of the binding. They believe in a binding of Ishmael, not Yitzchak. But be as it may, part of that ritual, when they get to the Kaaba and they do this sacrificial offering and involved with the food, is the main mass slaughtering of animals. And obviously they don't have the same rules as we have, but they have the halal, and it's as we said, that part of the comparative religion studies, you see that so many similarities, and you can argue and you say that we are much ancient, but here we are in that sense. The Islam is the 6th, 7th century. We are, at least the time that we are reading here is 600, 700 years earlier. So here we are, the Mishnah, Kol ha-psulim shemalku melikatan psula. They talk about disqualification when it's come to temple services. So part of the ritual, as we explained yesterday, is the melikat, the pinching the neck of a bird offering. So as we learned the halacha that any type of bird that wasn't slaughtered in the proper code of Jewish law, it's obviously it's nevilah, it's not befitting, disqualified. So the thing is, if a person ate it, the concept in the Mishnah, it's if it's get to Beit HaBli'ah, if they get to a person's throat. So unlike the other situation that if you touch a dead animal, so you can be contaminated with ritual impurity, versus here it's only bebeit habli'ah nitma, only when it's time that's slaughter. So general principle, soon you see in the Mishnah, if anything that gets to the mikdash, to the azara, to the temple courtyard, and it was in a status of kashrut, and inside betoch ha'azara turned to be disqualified. So lo metameh bebeit habli'ah, it doesn't carry this issue of ritual impurity, which is if it ascend imalala mizbeach, so lo yered. So even the shchita itself, the slaughter, it's not kshera, but as far as tum'at beit habli'ah, it's not applied. So anyway, so the Mishnah said, kol ha-psulim shemalku. So the Gemarah later on disputed what exactly those disqualified that people we talk about. Melikatan psula. So obviously the pinching is not valid. Ve'eino metameh bebeit habli'ah, but it doesn't carry the ritual impurity when it's in the throat, as will be in the meat of a kosher bird that was not ritually slaughtered. Here is the word of the Rambam. Ilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 7. If anyone disqualified from performing temple service pinched the nap of a bird offering, the pinching is not valid. Nevertheless, the bird is not considered a nevela, a carcass, and its meat does not render one who swallow it, beit habliya, ritually impure when it's in his throat. But there is a book called Avodat HaMizbeach, and Siman Aleph, he is bring here the view of Rashi Tosfot, and he said that the whole idea of melika, להוציא מידי טומאת נבלת טליה, היה ומליקה לגבי דין עלו יורדו. So he bring this Rambam, and then he argue between melikat laila teired, etc. But in short, there is a strong comparison between Avodat HaMizbeach and the Keren Orah. So he said, and just give you the vignette, אפילו אם עלו ירדו, מכל מקום שחיטת דרום איכה מעילה, ולא אבק קודשים שמתו. דהיים עלו ירדו, משום גזירת הכתוב גרידה, דזאת תורת העולה. So let's see it in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, מלק בשמאל או בלילה, שחט חולין בפנים וקודשים בחוץ, אינן מטמאות בבית הבליעה. So here, there are several scenarios. If he slaughter a non-sacred bird inside the temple courtyard, or a sacrificial bird outside the temple courtyard, so you see in all of these situations, although it is prohibited to consume these type of birds, they do not render one ritually impure when they are in the throat. Because when it's come to halakha, when it's come to pinching, is like slaughtering in that sense. Malak besakin, but if he pinched with a knife and not with his thumbnail, so it's basically nevela. Is a tosfot here, but I'll just give you the basic here. Malak chulin befnim v'kodashim bachutz, or he pinch a non-sacred bird inside the temple courtyard, or sacrificial bird outside the temple courtyard. So here, again, few points of the Rambam. First, the Rambam said in the Hilchot She'arei Avot HaTumot, chapter 3, he says, if the priest pinched the nap of a bird offering at night, or if he slaughter a non-sacred bird within the temple courtyard, or a consecrated bird outside of it, the bird is not considered a nevela. That's follow the Mishnah. It's also in the case if the Kohen pinched in his left hand. It's both Psulei HaMukdashim chapter 7, and you see also She'arei HaTumot chapter 3, he said if a Kohen pinched the nap of a bird offering with a knife, as we just mentioned in the Mishnah, or if he pinched a non-sacred bird within the temple courtyard, or a consecrated bird outside it, the bird is considered an nevela. That's basically the way that the Mishnah tells us. So even one pinched the nap of a non-sacred bird outside the temple, the meat will still transmit a ritual impurity, since pinching is considered the proper of slaughter only from consecrated bird inside the temple. Page 68b, תורין שלא הגיע זמנן ובני יונה שעבר זמנם, or if he pinched doves whose time of fitness for sacrifice has not yet arrived, because they are too young for sacrifice, or ובני יונה שעבר זמנם, or if he pinched pigeons whose time of fitness has passed, meaning too old, שיבשה גפה, if he pinch a neck of a flattering whose wings was withered, שנסמת עינה, or the eye blinded, ושנקטעה רגלה, or the leg severed. So in all of these cases, מטמא בבית הבליעה, although the bird's name was pinched, one who slaughtered is ritually impure when it is in the throat. זה הכלל, and that's what we said in the introduction. That's the principle. כל שפסולו בקודש, the meat of any bird that was initially fit for sacrifice and whose disqualification occurred in the course of the service in the sacred temple courtyard, אינו מטמא בבית הבליעה, does not make it one who swallowed it ritually impure within his throat. לא היה פסולו בקודש, the meat of any bird whose disqualification did not occur in a sacred area, but rather was disqualified before the service began, מטמא בבית הבליעה. It's make one ritually impure when it's reached the person's throat. So there are a few points. First and foremost is the Rambam. הלכות פסולי המוקדשים, chapter 7. Any bird offering that was disqualified in the sacred area is not considered a nevela, and any bird offering that was not disqualified in the sacred area is considered nevela, carcass, and that's basically follow the Mishnah. אמר רב, שמאל ולילה אין מטמאין בבית הבליעה, זר וסכין מטמאין בבית הבליעה. So he said, Rav hold that pinching with the thumbnail of the left hand and pinching at night does not cause the offering meat to make it the one who swallow ritually impure when it's in the throat, as a regular nevela of a unslaughtered bird. However, if you have a not kohen, a non-priest, and pinching, which is cutting from the nape of the neck, a knife rather than a fingernail, do cause the meat to render one ritually impure when it is in the throat. And the Rambam does not rule explicitly as to whether the pinching of a non-kohen rendered the bird a nevela. It seems that he rules follow the view of Rabbi Yochanan, that it does not, as he paraphrases the language of the Mishnah, that the pinching of any of those disqualified for temple service does not render the bird nevela. Similarly, he rules that a bird pinched by a non-priest that ascended unto the altar shall not descend, indicated that it is considered a disqualification within the sacred area. The Rambam also generally follow the view of Rabbi Yochanan in his dispute with Rav. מה ישנה שמאל? דאית להכשרה ביום הכיפורים. ולילה אית להכשרה באיברים ובדרים. זרנמי אית להכשרה בשחיטה. So what's the really difference between the two cases that prevents the bird from having a status of nevela? Temple service that performed with the left hand has an instance of validity during the service of Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol entered the Holy of Holies, holding the spoon of incense in his left hand. And the temple service at night has the instance of validity in the burning of the limbs and fats offering on the altar, which he burned throughout the night. However, a non-Kohen also has an instance of validity in the slaughter of animal offerings. So why then does Rav rule that pinching by a non-Kohen make the bird a nevela? As the Gemarah said, shchita lav avodai, slaughter is not considered a full-fledged sacrificial rite, and therefore it cannot be compared to pinching. So the Rambam Ilchot Beit HaMikdash, chapter 9 said, the slaughter performed by a non-priest is valid even for the offering of the most sacred order, and even for the communal offering. Derived from the pasuk in Vayikra chapter 1, pasuk 5, said, and he shall slaughter the bull before the Lord, and Aharon's sons, the priests, shall present the blood, which teaches that the service of the priests begins only with the collection of the blood. I want also to point it out Rashi here. Rashi said, Natalta machta biyamino v'takaf bismolo. So, there's a book called Kochvei Or. It was a great late Talmid Chacham, Rabbi Yisachar Leventhal. He asked here, למה לא נקטין על שמאל הוכשר ביום הכיפורים? כגון חפינת קטורת שהייתה בשתי ידיים, יום כיפור, they used the חפינת קטורת in both hands. ואם תוספתא, דאם עבד בימין ושמאל כאחד, עבודתו פסולה, עכשיו עובד משמאל. Anyway, it's a big write up here over that. So the Gemarah said, Vela, and it's not a full-fledged right. Shchita is not considering avodah. Ve'amar Rabbi Zeira, shchitat para bezar psula. Rabbi Zeira said that when you slaughter the red heifer, which is so appropriate, we are in Parshat Chukat, umachvei rav Allah, so that's in a parsha, said in Bamidbar Yutet, untatem ota el Azar HaKohen vechuka. That's how beautiful, it's so connected to the parsha. Said that the slaughter, the word statue, mentioned the pasuk, this is the statue of the law, which means Lazar involvement was halachically required. Shani para de kodshei beitek habayit, the para is different, the red heifer, because it's part of the temple maintenance. So the Gemarah asks, v'lo chol dechenu kodshei beitek habayit ba'u teuna kodshei mizbeach mibaya. Says the Kal Vachomer, when you have the consecrated for temple maintenance, which is Kodashim Kalim, with lesser sanctity, so you have the requirement of slaughter by the priesthood. Is it necessary to say that the slaughter of animal consecrated for sacrifice on the altar, which they have a greater sanctity, is a sacrificial rite that should require Kohen? So the fact that a non-Kohen may slaughter offering proves that certain sacrificial rites apply to them. Amar Rav Sheisha Breder Rav Idi, מדהבה מראות נגעים, דלאו עבודאי ובעיה כהונה. So here you have a marot negaim, which is the examination when you have a lepers, and you need to have these shades of lepers marks, so you don't have the temple, it's not constitute temple service, yet it's required declaration of purity or impurity by the priesthood. So the Gemarah said, "V'neilaf mi bama," should derive it from the altar. So lechatchila non-kohen can do hakrava. So even in the holy temple, when a non-kohen is disqualified for melika, so you may think that his melika b'diavad, in hindsight, should be affected. So it means if it ascend to the altar, it should not descend. So they said, mi bama lo yalif, we cannot derive the halachot of the temple service from the halachot of private altar, which considered non-sacred by comparison. So Gemara said, are you sure? Vela, והתניא מניין לא יוצא שאם עלה לא יורד, שהיוצא כשר בבמה. So we learn that the limbs of an offering which emerged from the temple courtyard and was thereby rendered unfit for sacrifice upon the altar, that if it nevertheless ascended upon the altar, it shall not descend. So it is derived from the fact that an item that emerged is valid for sacrifice on a private altar. So you see here an indication that one can learn from the halachot of a private altar with regard to temple service. So the Gemarah said, Tana mi etzot Torat ha'olah samich lei. The Tana of the Braita relies on the pasuk, this is the law of a burnt offering, for which it is derived that any item that ascends upon altar shall not descend from it, even if it was disqualified. So you see here the pasuk is the actual source for the halacha of the Braita, whereas the case of a private altar is cited merely in support of this ruling. ורבי יוחנן אמר, זר אין מטמא בית הפליאה, סכין מטמא בית הבליעה. So Rabbi Yochanan said that a non-Kohen pinched the nape of a bird offering. The meat does not render one who swallow it ritually impure when it's in the throat, but if he cut it from the nape of the neck with knife, that's a different story. So the meat make it ritually impure when it's in the throat. The idea is that when you use a knife, it's not considering a melika. It's none. So now the Gemarah bring a proof to Rabbi Yochanan and question of from our Mishnah on Rav. Nan kol הפסולים שמלקו מליקתן פסולה. So if any of those disqualified for temple service pinch the nape of a bird offering, their pinching is not valid, but the meat does not render one who swallow it ritually impure when it is in his throat. Bishlamah Rabbi Yochanan, this go well with the view of Rabbi Yochanan, because kol le'atuyei zar, because he said any is written to add that even pinching of a non-Kohen does not render the bird a nevela. Ela leRav kol le'atuyei mai. But according to Rav that said that if a non-Kohen did the melika, then it's ritually impure, metameh bebeit habliya, all what is come to teach us. So the Gemarah said, le'aituyei small velayla, question, which means that it's come to teach us that it's pinching with the left hand or pinching at night, but not non-priest, not the zar shemalak. So the Gemarah says, small vela behadya katani. Left hand pinching is taught in the Mishnah explicitly. The Gemarah said, Tane v'hadar mefaresh. It teaches the principle and then explain using specific examples. So now the Gemarah tried to bring a proof from our Mishnah. Tashma. Ze aklal. That's the basic rules. Kol shaya psulo bakodesh eino metame bgadim. So here we talk about someone who eat nevelat of tahor, the meat of any bird whose disqualification occurred during the course of a service in the sacred temple courtyard does not threaten the garments of one who swallow it, which will impure when the meat is in the throat. Bgadim bet habli'ah. בישלמה לרבי יוחנן כל העטוי זר, אלא לרב לעטוי מאי. So we can go by the Rabbi Yochanan who said that's any, it's to add any. Even the pinching of a non-Kohen does not make the bird a nevela. But if you go by the Rav who hold that it does make the bird nevela, so what is the word any? What is come to teach us? So the Gemarah continue with answer with the question. Page 69. Uletamich, the way that you explain from the ribuy of kol, שלא היה פסולו בקודש לעטויי מאי. The bird was not disqualified, is not accorded in a sacred temple courtyard, transmit ritual impurity to one who swallows. So here, according to view of Rabbi Yochanan, what disqualification is added if not pinching by a non-Kohen. אלא רישא לעטוי שחיטת קודשים בפנים, סיפא לעטוי מליקת חולין בחוץ. תניא כבתי דרבי יוחנן, מלקה זר או מלקה פסול. So if a non-Kohen pinch a bird offering, or a Kohen disqualified from temple service pinch it, or it become פיגול, הפיגול והנותר והטמא, אין מטמאין הבית הבליעה. So not make it swallow the ritual impurity when it's in the throat. And the Rambam, הלכות פסולי המוקדשים, chapter 7 said, a bird sin offering, or a bird burn offering that became pigul, notar, or ritually impure does not render one who swallow it ritually impure when it is in his throat, since its disqualification occurred in the sacred area. So that's basically follow the ruling of the Braita. There is a book, two notes I want to make. One is a book called Klei Gola, Amud Shin Yun Tet. And he explained this Gemarah beautifully. Also, רבן קוטלר זצ"ל, זה שאלות ותשובות משנת רבי אהרון. He expanded this Gemarah and explained it beautifully. And also, Rav Perla זצ"ל, in his book called קובץ קירת ארבע, also expanded this sugya extensively.